when we have those open centers, that's where we don't have a consistent way of being within that energy. So we're very susceptible to conditioning from others.
Hello, and welcome to Holistic Ambition, where we talk with visionary leaders about creating a career, relationships, and life that is sustainable to your well-being, meaningful, and a lot of fun in the process. I'm your host, Stephanie Thoma, founder of Holistic Ambition, life coach, and author of Confident Introvert. I'm so excited to announce our guest today, Ashley Mosaic. She is a self-development coach. And Ashley Mosaic is pioneering the future of alignment, merging astrology, human design, and neuro-linguistics. She coaches clients on how to utilize their energetic mechanics and cosmic blueprint to create the life of their dreams. Her unique approach facilitates inner and outer alignment, the alignment with one's soul, and the collective cycles. As above, so below, as within, so without. Oh my goodness. So Ashley, you utilize so many amazing modalities, human design, neuro-linguistics, astrology. Can you kind of break it down for us, maybe the modality that you began with and the evolution of really tapping into and mastering these modalities?
Well, I first started learning about manifestation and consciousness probably like 20 or so years ago. And I was really deep in that. And then still had a lot of questions, like, how does this relate to me? How does this? I'm really trying to understand myself. And then that led me to go really deep into astrology. And then with astrology, I then had a lot of questions still of, okay, that explains like why I feel that way, but what do I do about it? What do I do about it? Am I just destined to these difficult things that feel so difficult for me? What do I do about it? That led me to human design then. So then now I see how these three systems really work together, to astrology being like the map. When we get our natal chart, it's the map. Everything is in there. We see certain components of maybe where we're designed to really have our ego fulfillment, where we need to nurture ourselves, where we potentially have soul work to do. All of that is in there. And then you get to your human design, and it's the mechanics of you. It is your aura. It is your energetic, like basically the energy of you, your aura, the mechanics of you, and then the different energy types that you are, the different centers, and how you are designed to really operate within this, and like recognize how your body is the authority. And then by doing this, with this awareness of who you are, how to find out more of who you are, how to overcome this, how to create ease, how to feel successful, what it is you're really after, you see it's this consciousness that's always leading you to this essence of like awareness and consciousness go hand in hand for manifestation and this intentionality. And there's just these tools, these incredible tools that we have, and it's just incredible to see and then experience with my clients. I'm just have these rapid results.
And, it is rooted in ancient wisdom. And I'm curious if we could break down what you tend to focus on specifically. So let's say that someone maybe they're new to these modalities, or maybe they've been immersing themselves in them, and maybe they're feeling a sense of overwhelm, like, okay, what do I even focus on? What is useful when it comes to manifestation, when it comes to being in true alignment? So if we could just break down maybe one or a few key elements that you like to encourage your clients to look for in astrology, then we'll go into human design and then neuro-linguistics.
So when people think of astrology, everybody's familiar with their sun sign. So your sun sign itself, that's just one small piece of it, but it is your conscious awareness. It is your ego. So it is the energy in which you came here to express externally. It is the internal, but it's not necessarily an energy that's going to come like innate to you, because when you recognize it's when we're born, we're all on the earth, but we are getting like an encoding from the sun. So our actual footing is in the sign that's opposite, but we're getting this encoding and learning how to like grow and ascend towards that sun. So it's through that process, we're going to have our ego fulfillment. So having an understanding of that, you'll see where there is this desire for ego fulfillment. But then your moon is so important as well, because your moon not only represents your innate skills and gifts, and maybe even like the strength you developed in childhood or even past lives if you want to go that route. But it's also your inner world, your nourishing. And so it holds so many clues to, all right, you feel out of sorts, check in with your moon. Are you taking care of your moon? And you have your moon holds so many clues there of just like where you need to have this nourishment and really to feel rooted and kind of like your sense of self again. And then with human, so it's like that's the kind of where we start is in there. And then if there's any, people will come to me because they're having, a particular area they want to focus on. So if it's like somebody that's just coming for one individual reading, usually there tends to kind of be a focus, or maybe they want to see what are going to be maybe the main themes for this particular year. And then we have multiple different systems that we'll pull at for there. But it's really making sure that you're just like, have at least an awareness of these energies in your life, because the idea, if you have an awareness or not, like they're going to be screaming the more you're able to okay.
Yeah. So even looking at what aligns with your moon and astrocartography. I mean, that's a really good tip for someone who's feeling a little bit less than grounded, as in this day and age, maybe few people are.
Right? Yeah, it's because it's where we feel like it's our inner child, and where we feel like ourselves, and where we feel nourished, and where it's like that. What was that book, Chicken Soup for the Soul? Like it's there's certain things that you need, and then through kind of feeding that energy, it feeds you back, and it's this clarity that comes from just checking in with yourself.
I love that. And when it comes to human design, I'd love for you to start with what your design is. If you notice any trends in, I don't know, people that are coming to you, if that's relevant. And then maybe even touch on inner authority.
Mm-hmm. So I am a generator. I'm a 1/4 generator. So a generator is the ones that have the defined sacral. They create the energies. They're here to build. Generators are here to be the builders, to do the work, to create the energy. So generators are here to, through that, respond to life, and through the responding is how they get to know themselves. It's a lifelong journey to build something, to build, create energy, and know yourself. So about half the population are generators, even more than that are generators, because there's manifesting generators and generators, but both of them are generators, so they have that defined sacral. And then everybody has a different profile. Your profile is kind of the role that you came here to really play out in life. So me being a 1/4, the 1 is all about being an investigator, a researcher, here to dig into the details, build a foundation. And then the 4 is all about then spreading that information. And looking back on my entire life, had I had a greater understanding of this many years ago, I think it really would have changed some of the way in which I just not only accepted myself, but also recognized. I always felt like relationships were really, really important, but I didn't recognize to the extent of it. Whereas in being a 1/4, well, if you have a 4 in your profile, it's all about everything in your life comes to you through your relationships, through your network, through your community. So really nurturing that and nourishing as the person is really going to take you farther. It's almost like like for someone who has a 4 in their profile, your life is as big as your network. And when I even think back on every single job I've ever had, especially when I would have like 9 to 5s and stuff, I never once ever got a job off of like Indeed or anything like that. It was always a friend of a friend, or this person knows this guy's brother. And it's like, it was always that way. So you see how it really plays out. And then in human design, there's the 9 different energy centers. So you can really tell a lot about a person in terms of where they have their strong sense of self versus where they're designed to be more of a window or have that particular breed of empath energy in that particular area of their life.
I'm curious, like, how does the inner authority interplay with intuition?
Mm-hmm. So your intuition, so it's fascinating when you we all have our own version of what we think intuition is. And then if you ever try and study intuition, people being like, what really is it? What really is it? And there's so many different theories around it, but I think that really from the most primal element, it's kind of everything else has kind of been dulled in us, right? Like our eyes, our hearing, our taste, everything's kind of been dulled, but there's still this really primal level. And I think also our intuition then is this component of our brain can't quite pick something, right? It was like our body's picking up so many cues, but our brains aren't able to actually calculate it fast enough, but our body just knows no. Or and yes, no. So then within human design, everybody has their own different, like their own authority, which is for their decision making, which essentially is your own version of intuition, of where that person is going to feel it the strongest. So since I am a generator without the emotional definition, I just have that sacral authority. So for me, it's that yes, no, gut response. And with the generator, it's also a lot of really having that almost like caveman, like yes, no, this, and that. It's not about somebody asking you like long-ended questions. It's more of just like yes, no. And then you can really connect with your sound to really be able to get that energy activated. And then depending upon what channel it is, like for everybody's whatever it is, essentially that is defining their authority, that's going to be the voice of their decision making. But there's multiple of different authorities. So if somebody has emotional authority because they have the solar plexus defined, it's all about riding that wave. Your emotions are designed to bring you clarity. They're also designed to bring kind of a buffer. So you know that if something needs to be done right now, or you have to know right now, and you're still you're not sure about it, your wave is saving you, because you may have just said yes to something that would have been, not turned out anywhere what you wanted. So you being like, I got to sleep on it. And if they say no, that's the best thing for you, because it was saving you. And it's just this really slow, and there's so much depth in there. There's so much wisdom in there, so much. And so that'd be another one. And then there's somebody has their splenic authority. So that's going to be that intuition, and really, but the intuition, recognizing the intuition isn't going to be as loud as maybe the yes, no. It's more of this like subtle, and it's never about yes or no. It's more about healthy or not. And depending upon like if somebody has multiple of these, like of the centers defined, that are these centers, they could kind of, they blend together. So like with you, what is your, I wish I remembered your chart now.
Okay, 3-5 emotional projector.
So you have it. So imagine, do you have your spleen defined?
I know that I have, maybe yes, if that means that I have willpower. Is that
okay? Right? So you said, so you do have willpower, you do have the willpower. I mean, so the willpower, essentially, that would mean the ego having that defined. So if you have, I'm trying to envision your chart now, but you probably have
it's on the side. So one is filled in, the other is not. So maybe if the spleen is empty for me.
The spleen, so then it would be that ego, right? So I think you must actually have the 3740 channel, which is probably what defines it. So that is a channel of community. So a big part of your being able to make the decision for you is going to be a part of, do I have the energy to do this? And am I going to feel like I'm going to get something back in return? Are the people that I'm supporting going to support me in return? And that's like a big component. And if part of you feels like no, then it's like, you just know that for you. Even if you're like follow that emotional wave and you feel like no the whole way through it, it's a no. But that's like a big component of that for you, is recognizing that, like, that's going to be like the voice of your decision. So making sure then that you are surrounding yourself with people who see your value, who see what you're bringing, and also then being a projector, and that then ties further into it with energy of the recognition and the invitation, and recognizing that you are here then to be a guide and change the way in which people are perceiving work. And it's not about like you're not designed to be the workhorse. You're here to be the one who has a better way to do things, and people pay you whatever it is that you said. That's like the projector way. And
sounds about right.
It's changing.
Yeah, and so I do want to get into neuro-linguistics. I feel like let's table that for a moment. to go into how our pain and passions are linked with our purpose. Because, you kind of even touched on right now with that mini reading, thank you, on, some points of contention and also some points to be aware of to really allow someone to thrive.
Mm-hmm. So when we recognize the idea, right, that life only makes sense in reverse, but it must be lived going forward. And we see that there were these like key moments in our life that seem like these make or break moments, but we end up seeing somewhere along the line that the very thing that we thought was sent to break us somehow kind of made us, or it's this component of really we got a lot of strength from that. So we can see in our natal chart, we can see where like our location of Pluto, that can hold a lot of power, but where there's this power either internal or external, right? Power misplaced is self-destruction. So once we kind of in terms with that, we hold a lot of power in that area of our chart. And then we see our Chiron, that's our wounded healer. It's thought to be the this healer that could heal everybody else but not themselves. And it's the idea that where there's the crack, that's where the light gets in. So we see these things are the things that are most difficult for us when we kind of go through that and we accept that and we embrace that and we allow ourselves to like go through that. We see, I solved my problem. By solving my problem, we're able to like actually help other people with that very problem. Or we're able to transform this and like be true alchemists. And then in our human design, we see that when we have those open centers, that's where we don't have a consistent way of being within that energy. So we're very susceptible to conditioning from others because we don't really know how to be. Other people are this way, and then we're this, so then we don't really have we are. So we kind of will operate oftentimes from the not self theme in that particular area. So we go through these journeys to figure out who it is that we are. We recognize we're really just creating ourselves the whole way through, but we have these certain areas where we recognize, wow, I have a lot of wisdom there. And people don't just get wisdom. You don't get gifted wisdom, right? You earn it. You earn that wisdom. Earn it. And you see too of like whenever like if you were to like have a problem and you're seeking help for it, you want someone that's like, oh, I've been there, not like, oh, I read about this. Yeah. So what you do is you want like a champion, the underdog who's like, I've been there and here I am now. And the people who are most equipped for that are the people who have like gone through the fire and have that power from there.
Let's talk about, so you're talking about sort of embodying who you are and even embracing some of the things maybe at first you'd want to kind of put away and not show, not talk about. So can we talk about embodying who you are, releasing who you're not, and this idea of a trauma costume?
Yes. So when we look to our human design, we see that human design is a system of differentiation. We see that we are not homogenized beings. There's been people will try to make us homogenized, but no, it's our uniqueness that is actually what makes us so special, right? I think that everybody is special, and we're special in our own ways. But it's the idea of it takes a village. You get people that are really good at this, maybe not as good at that, but really good. It doesn't even matter because they're so good at this. And together, we're all like a very important piece of the whole. But if we're all trying to be like this one way, wow, that's a lot of vulnerability because we don't have anybody being that. And even worse with that is that all these people that are trying to be this, they're not actually they don't have the energetic makeup to actually be that. So the more that we accept who we are, and it's a big component of that is when you look to any of your charts, it's never exclusion of being like, well, I can't help it. I'm this way. It's the way it is. No, because we all have all the energies within us. We just have kind of certain mechanics of how for us to best get what it is that we want, the easiest route to getting what it is we want, the most joy, the most expansion. But it's when we lean into the energies of who we truly are, and we lean into our strengths. And that's something that I always find so fascinating is the things that we are really, really good at. We don't even often have to recognize we're really good at it because either we'll think, I don't know, I just thought everybody could do this. Or you didn't find value in it. So maybe because it wasn't something that everybody could do and you're just trying to fit in. and be kind of homogenized, be very tribal. And that's a huge component of like some of these bigger shifts in the macro cycles that are kind of spinning right now, is this shift from a very tribal energy to a much more individual energy. And we're seeing this play out in a lot of things in the world, with things that maybe certain systems that we really relied on, we're starting to kind of see like, okay, that's not really working too well anymore. Like, what, the kind of thing just trying to kind of get flawed. And then people are recognizing, boy, some of like, I don't know who I can trust. There's this. It's really about being your own authority, but recognizing within that, it's about like being your differentiation, embodying that energy. So then when we couple that with the idea of this trauma costume, so many of us, when we have this like bag of magic that we could be digging into, but instead we're like too busy. We're covered in armor of something because of our trauma, or we feel bad about being weird. We don't want to be misunderstood. We feel like no one's going to listen to us anyways. I have weird ideas. It's like, no, like that's where we really get wrong. And then we're just kind of going in loops in our whole life, feeling like things aren't working, and we don't know why anything isn't working. And it's because you're actually supposed to do the things that you actually want to do. You're supposed to follow those things that are lighting you up. And it's just incredible when you pull out those charts. There's like clear indicators of guidance, and just every single day it blows me away still. So I have to sometimes like keep my cool, not be like, oh my God, because it's chill. It absolutely is amazing to me how, and then the comfort that people feel, and the clarity and the allowance of accepting yourself as well that comes with it. And then that's that kind of bravery for then recognizing, oh, maybe I can put this down because I see the role that it played. I saw the value that maybe it gave me in some way, but I see that it was really just, it was a shield because I thought that I needed it because I didn't think this other thing that I actually have was valuable.
Yeah, what I'm hearing is such a theme of these tools and modalities really bringing your clients back to themselves. And it sounds like from your experience as well of diving into these modalities, of really claiming like, okay, maybe this is something that's quirky. Maybe it's a little weird, but guess what? It's a part of my design. So it gets to be expressed. It gets to be embraced from the inside out, kind of bringing your quote from the beginning in your intro full circle. And how does neuro-linguistics, maybe just a quick note on how that ties in as well?
It is changing the way in which we are speaking to ourselves, how we are perceiving ourselves, perceiving our place in the world, perceiving what happened to us. And I found a lot of people, we carry around a lot of like trauma, and we're so stuck. And it's a lot of times it's by the idea of thinking that things that happened shouldn't have happened. And then also thinking, where we wronged other people or other people wronged us, or blame or this. And it's so natural for people to do that. But if we really recognize, we're like, that's a misuse of energy, right? We are giving our energy and our mental energy to things that will not actually respond to energy. So it just creates this stuckness. And if you've ever had it, like if you think too, be myself about it, if I think too much, I will like literally be exhausted. And I'm like, I didn't do anything all day, but oh my gosh, it's like, so instead it's just real recognizing. So with my clients, there's multiple different techniques. Some of it's visualization, hypnosis. You can even do like EFT tapping. There's so many different methodologies for people to do, and these just tools for just kind of breaking the pattern and allowing for yourself to simply just like, even if it's not grabbing hold of anything, so you allow for this wave of wellness to wash back over you. And it's in that space between stimuli and response is where this true mutation in our life happens. And sometimes we just need a little bit of a pause. Maybe I didn't need to be holding on to that for so long, or but then it's wild when people do start to put some of this stuff down versus this idea of like, well, without my trauma, who am I? So then we're like, well, we go back to the charts, and we find certain components in there for you to really anchor onto. And that's when it'll go back to that moon, go back to that sun. And there's even, a lot really, really deep with all of that. But there's so many cues for us to go back to. And it's really just the creation of yourself, of your life. But you have certain confines now to kind of use as guides, so to anchor into.
Yeah. So, taking into account all of these tools that you are so expert in, and taking into account that it really sometimes is about shedding different layers that have been put on as a form of protection versus authentic self-expression and purpose. How do you define ambition?
I think it's alignment, having this sense of alignment, doing what it is that you feel like you came here to do, and you're getting a positive response from it. And this creates this feedback loop of where you have this ambition, you have this dreams, you have this legacy you want to build, and you're going about it in a way that seems to be recharging, refilling your cup. That's what I think that's even like, it's kind of where everything is headed, as well as how can we incorporate more of that into our life, because that's where you get that fulfillment. So you get that fulfillment and you don't have that burnout, and you don't deal with the idea of living a life that you feel like wasn't even you, and you didn't choose it, and it was chosen for you. And there's so much of that, right? But if you are recognizing, okay, what can I do to like follow this next little breadcrumb of joy? Okay, yeah, this feels good. This feels like an alignment. This feels like this expansive.
Yeah. So, even it's possible you've already kind of said the word or the phrase, but I'm curious, in a word or a phrase, what does holistic ambition mean to you?
I was still going to say alignment, because whenever I think of holistic, it is going to be this connection of all of the different components, all of the different segments of our life, all the pieces of the puzzle coming together. And to me, that's alignment, that's clarity, that's what I feel like. Maybe that's like, right. So when I'm a generator, my like key thing I'm always after is satisfaction. So I'm like, that's just, to me, that's like, the joy right there, to feel like flow, to feel like, right, you're rolling a snowball and it's just like, woo, and it's easy, it's fun, versus like the snowball keeps breaking, like the frustration. But for me, it's just that sense of just fulfillment comes from doing things that feel expansive. And I feel like I'm able to incorporate all of the things that I've learned, and it's all coming together. And the idea of, it's just looking back on your life, you see why everything happened the way that it did, and it was actually perfect for where it is that you're going. And I think that's another key component of not getting so hung up on things shouldn't have happened the way they happened, because it's all perfect. It's perfect. It's all perfect. It was all needed to get you where it is that you're going.
And what a sigh of relief for anyone who has been holding on to past stories, past self-concepts that are actually not their truth. And especially anyone immersed in trauma work, sometimes getting into the shadow and, in the process of integrating, this is really powerful stuff. So, Ashley, for anyone who is sort of like, how do I learn more about you? How can we stay connected with you? What are the best ways for people to go ahead and do that?
Well, you can find me on Instagram or in the socials. It's Ashley Mosaic. And on Twitter, it's Ashley Mosaic _. There's another Ashley Mosaic, but there's one more. But really, Twitter, and Instagram is where I'm the most. And my website is ashleymosaic.com. You can book an individual session, or you can book a call to learn about coaching, where we get a lot deeper, and we're able to really recognize that alignment, work with the energetics, help you move past certain things that may be part of that costume that you don't want to wear anymore, so you can put on something that actually is you, and really allow for your light to shine.
Thank you so much for your time today, Ashley Mosaic. And thank you at home or wherever you are for tuning in and watching. Consider this your invitation to subscribe of the next Holistic Ambition speaker in the series. Wishing you a beautiful day. Until next time.